I just got three things to say. God bless our troops, God bless America, and gentlemen, start your engine!
Welcome to the Stire Sound podcast with your hosts, Trey, Stire, and Jack Noel.
Ladies and gentlemen, 4th of July weekend is just around the corner. You know what that means. RedBud Motocross coming right up. You better set your Marlboros and your Slim Jims out because Kid Rock is coming to town. It's 4th of July weekend. RedBud, the most patriotic race of the year. But before that, welcome to episode 2 of the Stire Sound. And we are here to recap the Crestview Construction, Southwick National, Jet Lawrence first, Hayden Deegan first. In other words, the sky is blue and the grass is green. I'm Trey Stire, your host, back again with episode 2. Thank you for listening. Be sure to share it to your friends, to your coworkers, to your family. Let them know about the Stire Sound. We are here to recap the action from Southwick. We're here to talk about some of the latest headlines from the sport and then preview RedBud a little bit and give some of our predictions for the next race coming up. Joining me once again, my co-host from the Dirt Bike Depot WMR KTM team, Jack Noel, fresh off his first trip to Southwick. Jack, how was your weekend, man? Welcome back. Talk about Southwick a little bit. I know it was a challenging weekend for the boys, but you guys are out there gaining reps in pro motocross.
Yeah, it's kind of how it is, right? It's the outdoors, man. It's definitely a lot tougher on the bikes and tougher on things than Supercross was, but I'm excited about we're excited about it. It was fun. The Southwick is cool. It's like being in Florida, like how the sand is. Like I love the sand. It just is so entertaining to watch, and I think it's makes for the best racing. But yeah, Southwick was not bad, not good. It was kind of in the middle. Like there was positives to take away from our team. And yeah, that's like all you can really look for right now. It's on paper, it wasn't great, but it was good nonetheless.
For the people who may not be aware, Jace Kessler from the Dirt Bike Depot team, 3 days after getting surgery to repair his broken collarbone, puts it into the motos with a solid ride in the consolation race. Only 37 scores on paper, but man, 3 days fresh out of collarbone surgery. He's a warrior for riding through not just any motocross track, but one of the most physically demanding tracks on the circuit with all the sand and the rough conditions of Southwick.
Yeah, man, it was. I was pretty unaware of like how it was gonna go. Like we were just kind of like, oh, we'll see how it goes. Like when the weekend comes, and I don't know how he did it because I don't know if I was him, I wouldn't be racing. But Jace tough through it and got in the motos, and wasn't like the greatest showing of all time. Like nothing to write home about, but it was great. It was unreal to see. I couldn't believe he did it because he got surgery like the Wednesday before. So like 2 days off, and then you're racing. It's like, man. So I don't know. It was cool. He got like 38th overall. Got a little bit of luck in the LCQ, but he put it in the motos. It was sick.
Southwick, too, usually one of the toughest tracks to qualify. I know 450s went first this year, so it was standard 250A guys went first, then 250B. But regardless, qualifying in days after surgery, that's a tremendous accomplishment for him. And unfortunately, the other team rider, Gage Linville, motor issues in practice kept him out of the consolation race. He wasn't really able to fight through it, but you told me a little bit before we started recording that he kept a positive attitude, was there helping the guys out, and maybe RedBud will be the chance for him to really get the outdoor season going in the right direction. Because we've seen before his speed from motocross, or from supercross, that he's definitely capable of scoring points and running up there with the faster guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it right on the nose. It definitely has been kind of underwhelming for him, and obviously the bike issue out of his control. And that's something you never want to see. And as a team, like how it is, we have small budgets, and we're working to get better every day. And it's something that unfortunately we're unable to get situated. Yeah, I think Gage is kind of been bad luck a little bit, and he's things haven't gone his way necessarily, but I think at RedBud he'll definitely be ready to go, and I think he's got a little fire under him to really prove something and show who he really is and battle for some points.
Recapping Southwick a little bit, as I mentioned, Jet Lawrence, Hayden Deegan, 1-1 again. Status quo, so to speak. One thing that really caught my eye watching from home, I was at home, you were at the track, so you had a little bit better vantage point than I did, but Joe Shimoda, he didn't get second overall, but man, he was probably the second best guy in the 250 class all day. First moto, first corner, goes down in a pile up, then apparently goes down again separately. They didn't have video of the crash, but he went down after that, after he had recovered, and then climbed all the way back up to 10th. And then second moto was really impressive because in the first race, Hayden Deegan, I think, was 30 seconds or so ahead of Levi Kitchen by the time the checkered flag was displayed. But in the second moto, once Shimoda got to second, he didn't knock the gap down any, but he kept it in that 8 to 10 second range. Deegan was already gone and out front and had space, but Shimoda didn't let that gap balloon like some of the other guys did, and Shimoda pulled away from the rest of the pack. Guys like Vial, Kitchen, Mosman, he was several seconds clear of all of those guys. I was really impressed with Shimoda's riding. Even at High Point, he had a couple mistakes and went down a couple times, but he was still very fast on the motorcycle, and it seems like he's very confident now. What was your opinion on Joe Shimoda's run through the pack? Because he genuinely looks like the second fastest guy in the 250 class, at least in terms of pure speed.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. Actually, it's the speed wise, he definitely has, the speed. What's at least it seems to kind of compare-ish to Deegan. I think Deegan's on a whole other level, but the speed that Joe has, and it kind of showed this weekend, like you said, like the gap didn't balloon and it didn't go from 10 to 30. It kind of stayed at the same whenever Joe got in a second. And I think I would completely agree with you. I think Joe definitely is the second fastest guy in the class right now. When it comes to pure speed, it's just all about, like, if Joe can start in front of Deegan, let's say that's one and Deegan's in fifth, can Joe kind of check out? And that's going to be the question if we ever get that opportunity, But yeah, I think if anybody's going to kind of compete with Deegan, it looks like it'll be Joe. And Joe definitely was moving through the pack in the first moto. Like, I did see him go down the start, and then he was like in 35th, 36th, and kind of like some guy went down in front of him, and he got caught right behind him, and he was basically dead last. Like, he had to go through everybody to get to 10th. So, and he was stuck there for a minute. Like, it took him a while to get out of, like, their bikes were like stuck together.
Oh, man.
So it took him a while to get out, but then once he did, he just put on a charge and was out of ripping. To get up to 10th, that was pretty impressive. And two, I do want to shout out my guy Tom. I think his second moto, or his first moto was really, really good. Like, I think if he was able to stay where he was, he for sure would have got second.
Definitely.
I don't know if he would have been able to pass Deegan, but his late moto charge after the crash, from going from like sixth to third, I believe it was. I mean, he was just in like the flow state the last 10 minutes of that moto. I was watching him a lot, just kind of watching the race and stuff like that. It was really, really impressive. Like, he just kept on moving, and like you just see Levi kind of start fading back, and you're in whoever, I don't even know who got fourth in the first moto.
Mosman.
But Mosman kind of start fading back, and Tom was just at their heels, catching them. And I think Mosman made like a little mistake and like went off the track, and Tom was able to get him. I don't know if they showed it in the broadcast or not, but
I don't think they did, but they definitely mentioned something about him. He must have had some kind of mistake or went off track, like he said, because he ended up finishing fourth. But shout out to Mosman, by the way. He's had some solid results this summer, but also he's had a mechanical issue at Thunder Valley, I think. And then High Point second moto, he went down first lap, so he had to claw his way through the pack. But he had a really good day at Southwick and showed a lot of speed.
Yeah, he's definitely good. I think he's kind of slept on a little bit. Like, when it comes to like raw speed, I think he's got a lot of it. I talked to him a little bit after the race, and he was just saying, "Yeah, I'm like just super grateful to be here," and kind of how he is all the time. Super lighthearted and super nice guy and easy to talk to. But I think Mosman is definitely. I think that track definitely suits his style a little bit. Like, he's kind of like rear end heavy, and kind of flows really well. That's why I think Levi did so well there too. But yeah, no, the battle between him and Levi was really fun to watch, and I think Mosman is definitely showing that he has some potential, and there's still some left in the tank there for him.
I will give you a shout out as well because in our podium predictions on last week's episode, you said Deegan and Vial are locks for the podiums, and look what happened at the end of the day. Deegan P1, Vial P2. So you hit the nail on the head, as it were.
Yeah, that third spot, man, I think it's pretty tough to predict for anybody. I mean, I think even 2 through 6, I don't know, you could pick 8 guys, and it wouldn't surprise me if any of them were there. It's just that's kind of how the 250 class is, and I'm really excited for when Deegan does move up to the 450 class and it opens it up. I think the 250 class will get a lot more entertaining.
That's the way it always is in the 250 class. Honestly, you have some guy come in, dominate the class, and then who will be the next person to step up after they're gone? Stu did it, ran the 250 class. Then you had like Villapoto came in, had his run. Then Dungy and Porcel were kind of at the top of the class. And of course, in recent history, when the Lawrence brothers were there, they had a little bit of a stranglehold on the class. Then they moved out. Deegan took over. And when Deegan moves up, like you said, who's going to be the next guy to fill the shoes? If we're going off the way Supercross was this year, Cole Davies has to be one of the favorites to really be up there and take the ball, so to speak. Of course, Levi Kitchen has a lot of success. He nearly won a Supercross title last year, was looking good this year until he got hurt at Daytona, and he's been fast outdoors, of course. So it'll be interesting to see who steps up for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And just to kind of touch on that whole thing, I think that I really am bummed out that Cole isn't able to race some of these outdoors because I've kind of heard and like you can kind of look at like the results on paper too. Like Cole hasn't shown he is the same rider on an outdoor track that he is a Supercross track. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't had the success, I guess you could say. You know, like Futures, we saw Cole be, you know, he had the wins, he had the podiums, like he was good enough. Everybody was like, yeah, this kid's the next. You know, he'll be really good right out the gate. But then outdoors, like you're kind of like, didn't show too much. You know, on the Star bike when he did get on it, he got like I don't think he won a combine, but nonetheless, I wish he was racing, and I hope he gets back out there soon because I think he could have some for Deegan. Who knows? I don't know. I'd be interested to see.
Yeah. And then moving back to the 450 class, I mean, what else can you say about Jet Lawrence? Now, 20 overall wins in 21 tries. And it's crazy to me. I know that his career went kind of in the wrong direction because of some Supercross only stuff and then different injuries or whatever. But Jet Lawrence already being tied with James Stewart and overall wins in the Premier class is kind of crazy to think about. Hunter Lawrence was a very strong 2-2 this weekend. Hunter is starting to take that third best guy in the class role away from Aaron Plessinger. AP was that guy at the start of the championship, but now Hunter is starting to find his form from last year, I feel like, where he's going to be that second best guy. And it kind of sucks for Hunter, man, because last year it was like Sexton was winning, and Hunter was right there, but he couldn't quite get it. And now he's got his brother to deal with, which I know he's used to from the 250 class. But Tomac in third. We talked about Jorge Prado going missing and what was going on. And you said he may be able to sniff the podium. There was at least signs of life, man. 5th overall. He was running very well. He was running third position, first moto, I think, until he went down. But he was up there. He looked competitive. He looked like he had fight. He looked like he wanted to compete and to really prove that, you know, he was there for real. That was a huge, huge improvement for Prado. I'm sure the people at Kawasaki have to be stoked. Prado seems to be moving in the right direction. I don't want to say, you know, oh, he goes out and gets a podium or wins this weekend because one race is one race and we can't overreact to it, but a massive, massive swing in momentum in the right direction for Jorge.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think you almost have to, not to discredit Jorge for his performance at Southwick. It was definitely good and it's better. But you kind of had like that asterisk when at a track like Southwick that's so different and like probably the most comparable to any track in Europe. Like it's sand is probably the most consistent style of track. Southwick is in itself though super tough just because of the kind of the hard base that comes up after once it gets rough. But Yeah, I think like I watched a little bit of I watched a lot of press today, and he looked super comfortable right away. Like he was just I could tell that he was looking forward, almost like more positive about this weekend at Southwick than he has any other rounds before. And just because I think that sand kind of excites these guys a little bit and kind of gives them some familiarity with the tracks back, I guess, in Europe, because he lived in Belgium forever, and Lommel is
Oh yeah.
sand galore. So definitely some familiarity for him. I think that helps. So I don't know if that's like his true form. I think he's a good sand rider, and I think that helps a lot at a track like Southwick, obviously. So I kind of have like an asterisk next to it, honestly. Like it's not super convincing to me that he's like, okay, like now he's ready to take that step and be on the podium and compete for wins. I think if he can do it again, if he can do it at RedBud, that's one thing. Like I think that track is, and he's ridden there before, so that might help. But anyway, but yeah, if he can do it at RedBud and continue to do that, I think you can definitely start solidifying him as somebody who has got the potential to be, to fight for wins.
Jorge Prado has experience at RedBud. He's competed in the Motocross of Nations event twice at that track, so at least a little bit more familiar territory, even though it's only been twice. He's never been at Southwick before, but obviously the sandy conditions helped out there. So hopefully Jorge Prado can keep the momentum rolling, can keep this positive trajectory going upwards. I'll shout out a few more riders from Southwick that stood out to me, at least on the results page. I forgot to mention in last week's episode that Mikkel Harup was probably my sleeper for the weekend because of his MXGP experience, and he goes out there 6'5" for 5th overall, I believe. 5th or 6th overall, but
I think it
Harup's
was
best.
6th. I was seeing that.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, man, that's got to be 8 because Joe went 10-2 for I
Yeah, that's
believe it
right.
was 5th overall
Yep.
or 4th overall or something like
Yep,
that.
it was 5th because you had Vial and Kitchen and Mosman there, 2, 3, 4. But
Yeah, so like to go 5-6 for 6th overall has got to be
yeah,
pretty demoralizing.
still a great weekend for Harp. He looked very fast in the sand, obviously being more comfortable with the sandy conditions. One guy that's really impressed me in the 250 class, and he's not going to jump off the page to a bunch of people because he's not a factory guy and kind of flies under the radar. But I would not have predicted Parker Ross to go 10th overall at Southwick. I mean, Parker, he had a couple bike issues at Thunder Valley and High Point, so the results there looked bad, but that was because of a bike issue. But man, Fox Raceway, he was running up in the top 15, and Hangtown, he was running well. Of course, he's from California, so you would expect a Cali guy to be running well at those tracks. But coming out to Southwick and running top 15 all day, getting 10th overall, shout out to Parker. And for people who might not remember, Parker switched teams right before the outdoor series. He was on SLR Honda the last couple years of his amateur career, and this season during Supercross, he switched to the Toyota Redlands Bar X Yamaha team for motocross, so he's had to learn a completely new bike in the last month or so, and to go out and get 10th at Southwick in his first trip there, that's a really impressive result.
Yeah, I don't know if he ever raced there as an amateur or anything like that, but definitely I do. The Bar X guys, they all look so similar. I know his mechanic McClellan pretty well, and I was like, dude, like he was ripping, dude, like he was just absolutely going for it. And yeah, I think it kind of all started for him. Like right at the start, he kind of got in the top 10 start, just kind of kept the pace. I think that kind of helps a guy like him who's fresher, learning, coming up, I guess, like to be up there with those guys going that speed. So it definitely, for me, it wasn't like I mean, I guess it wasn't a shocker, but like it just shows me like this kid has what it takes to potentially, be a factory rider one day.
He has been one of the most impressive riders in terms of being a breakout guy this summer to me. And one last guy that stood out to me at Southwick before I'll ask you who stood out. Cornelius Tondell, a guy I've interviewed a couple times in the past for my Motocross of Nations articles. The JWR Honda team from MXGP came over to America again this year. Last summer, they came over with Alvin Ostland and ran RedBud and Southwick. This year, they're running Southwick, RedBud, and I believe they're also running Millville as well. But Tondell, he got the fresh track to start the day in qualifying, laid down a third best time. He was running right with the factory guys at the start of the first moto, He had Jason Anderson right there in front of him. Prado and Tomac kind of broke away a little bit, but was running 7th for most of the moto. I guess heat started to cause him to fade a little bit, but still 11th in the first moto. Unfortunately, second moto, he crashed with another guy. Wasn't able to fully show his potential, but still, I feel like Cornelius Tondell really put his name on the map for a lot of people who might not know him as an MXGP guy. It's not been a great season for him over there after a really solid year last year, but he's a solid guy in my opinion. I think he's an underrated rider, and to see him over here in America and mixing up with the factory guys from day one is really cool to see.
Yeah, I think that it kind of shows you like that those mid-level GP guys are a lot better than most people think. I think like you look at the factory guys in the 450 class, and most of those guys are solidified top 10 every weekend guys, can be at least. And then those, mid-packed MXGP guys you might think aren't as good, but they're just as good as the factory guys over here. So I think it kind of one showed himself and the world a little bit like that. The GPs are nothing to, it's no joke over there. So it definitely is cool to see a guy like him come over. I've never heard of him. I knew he raced in Europe. I had heard that throughout the day, but for him to qualify third, obviously he had the advantage of a fresh track, but it definitely is cool, and it's cool to see that team coming over here and racing some American stuff.
For the MXGP series, I think I figured out the other day, maybe like 16 factory guys. I mean, you have 3 Yamahas, you have 3 Fanics, you have, of course, Honda, Kawasaki, Beta has a factory team, Ducati, all these other manufacturers, but there's still plenty of talented guys like Kevin Horgmo. You look at Tondell, Jan Panzer, a lot of really talented privateer guys or non-factory guys over there. And of course, Valentin Guillot came over this summer, Benoit Paturel. So even more of the guys who would be running that kind of 10 to 15 level, depending on the weekend, and MXGPs coming over here and really mixing it up. But I'll throw things over to you. Was there anybody that really stood out to you this weekend at Southwick that I haven't mentioned already?
I think Michael Mosman. I think that I don't know. I can't really remember off the top of my head his results in the past races, but I think he kind of showed out this weekend. I think that would be kind of like my underrated guy of the week for the 250 class. And then Parker Ross, like you said, I think that's him getting 10th overall really shows. And then TJ Albright, I will say, for his scenarios, like he went down in the first corner both races, and he hasn't raced outdoors in 5 years, he said. To get, I think he went 25-27 on a brand new bike.
Yep.
And then to do in a 30+2, which I'm sure at Southwick is probably the hardest 30+2 of the year. I think I know the results weren't great, but I think he rode really, really well and impressed me a lot during qualifying and stuff like that. When I was watching him ride, I was surprised, to say the least.
Solid building blocks for him. First ride with a brand new motorcycle. He was on a Rock River Yamaha for Supercross the last couple of years. And like you said, I think he might have had one national in between that time, but still, it's been a long time since he's been a regular. 25-27 on paper, people are going to look at it and say, oh, he's on a Phoenix Racing Honda, he should do better. But completely adjusting to a brand new motorcycle and getting back into the swing of pro motocross after being away from it from a long time is a very hard thing to do. And realistically, if TJ keeps improving, he keeps getting more comfortable on the bike, he may start pushing up toward the point, because he's a solid top 15 guy at times in Supercross. He definitely has the talent. So hopefully TJ can keep building, and the Phoenix guys, hopefully they have a little bit of luck coming their way. I know they had one of their GNCC guys in the 450 class. Mike Witkowski showed up and did a cameo as well. So hopefully the Phoenix team keeps growing. TJ Albright, welcome back to the Nationals. We are going to shift gears now into the news section of our episode, and we are going to start off the news with some unfortunate news and headlines from the weekend. It's never easy to talk about this sort of subject in news, but this week's articles on my site and this episode of the Stire Sound is dedicated to the memory of Aidan Zingg. For those who may have not heard the news, 16-year-old Aidan Zingg, a member of the Monster Energy Team Green Kawasaki amateur squad, was racing at Mammoth this weekend and unfortunately lost his life. I didn't know Aidan. I've not really followed amateur racing incredibly close over the years, apart from the Supercross Futures MX Combine sort of thing. But I have heard the name Aidan Zingg. I heard that he had a ton of talent. And when you go through and you look at all of these Instagram posts and people who were closer to him talking about not just how hard of a worker and how talented he was, but how humble and how good of a friend he was, that reminds us of the dangers of the sport and why motocross racing is such a tough thing for a lot of people to get into because of the risk involved. Rest in peace, Aidan Zingg. We're sending our thoughts and prayers on behalf of all of our listeners, on behalf of Jack, everyone here at the Stire Sound. We are thinking of the Zingg family. We are praying for all of you, for all of his friends as well. I know they're going through some tough times, but Aidan, you will be missed and you will not be forgotten. It sucks that we didn't get to see his career really unfold, and it sucks that we have to talk about a death in the motocross community, but you look all across social media, tributes pouring out. I know Garrett Marchbanks, his Instagram post made me tear up a little bit, to be honest, talking about how when he rejoined the Pro Circuit Kawasaki squad last summer, he started training and riding with Aidan a lot, and them being buddies, so to speak, hanging out, spending time together. Joey Savacci's post also hit home. That talked about Joey started crying when he heard the news, talking about he didn't know Aidan, but being a dad, it hit him emotionally, the thought of losing someone that young. It's unfortunate that we have to deal with this headline, but I'll pause for a second. Here on the Stire Sound, we'll have a quick moment of silence in memory of Aidan, and once again, send thoughts and prayers to his family and friends and everyone affected. Rest in peace, Aidan Zingg.
It's definitely tough to talk about. It's not something you ever want to cover or talk about at all, really. It's one of those things that you don't hear about that often, or at least with a rider of his caliber or ability. It's definitely one of those things that you don't want to talk about or hear about, or anything like that. But yeah, my thoughts and prayers to his family. I know his dad's heavily involved in the motocross industry, and the wear it probably takes on his family and even the people at that race that had to be there for that. It's the risk that everybody takes, and it's the reality of racing your dirt bike. It could potentially cost you your life, and in his circumstance, it unfortunately did, and it's something you never want to talk about. But yeah, my thoughts and prayers go out to him, or to his family, and to everyone that's around him and been around him and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm sending my love, my prayers, and rest in peace.
Moving on in the news now, on last week's edition, South Africa were the first people to reveal their Motocross Nations lineup, the first country. We have our second confirmation for Motocross Nations, and this is Team Japan, and of course Joe Shimoda will be headlining the team. But the most interesting part about this is Joe Shimoda will be on a Honda 450 for this event. Joining him on Team Japan, I am not familiar with the Japanese motocross scene, but I do remember the name Yuki Okura, who is racing for them in the open class, because I'm 99% sure Yuki was on the 2022 RedBud Motocross Nations team with Joe, and the MX2 class on a Yamaha is Soya Nakajima. Unfortunately, I don't think Japan is an A final team. We talked about South Africa. We believe they have the talent to be a final team for sure. Top 10 contenders probably, but with Japan, if Shimoda was in the 250 class like he's used to, I believe that if he was racing guys like Deegan, DeWolf, Langenfelder, Adamo, he could have potentially scored a good enough finish in his qualifying race to help Japan sneak into the motos. But stepping up to a 450 in an unfamiliar class and then being thrown into the kind of lion's den with Jet Lawrence or Hunter Lawrence, depending on which Lawrence brother races the MXGP class. Maybe Hurlings or Koldenhoff from Netherlands, probably Roman Fevre, either Tomac, Sexton, or Plessinger from the U.S. Plus, you have guys like Pauls Jonas will probably be there. Jeremy Seawer will probably be running 450 class. Kevin Horgmo, all these other guys. I just don't think that Japan will have enough to make it into the show. They struggled at RedBud a couple years ago. I think this is their first time in the event since then, but I just don't see Team Japan as an A final group.
Yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, Joe obviously has the ability to compete and put in a good result for himself. Definitely, I'm not like you said, I'm not very familiar with the Japan motocross scene. I know it's not like super, like it's not bad by any means. It's definitely a high level of racing. But yeah, I think they definitely will struggle to make the A final. I don't think it'll be. If I had to put money on it, I wouldn't put money on them making it. But it's definitely a possibility if Joe can get a good result in GP class. So yeah, I mean, definitely it's up to his teammates. I think if one other guy can put in a top 20 finish in their class, maybe they have a chance. But it definitely is going to take more than a good ride from Joe Shimoda.
A couple quick headlines before we get to our last major piece of news. Robbie Wageman has re-signed with the Heartbeat Hot Sauce Team Solitaire team. He will be back on a Yamaha for the 2026 250 West Supercross season. Congratulations to Robbie. He has been a member of Team Solitaire for a long time now. Apart from one season with Bar-X Suzuki, he's been with Team Solitaire since 2020. So a veteran of his caliber, he's a top 15, sometimes top 10 level guy in Supercross. And watching him kind of have stability, unlike some other guys that kind of bounce around. Robbie's been with one organization for the most part for the last 6-7 years. It's a great sign. He looked really good in Arena Cross, was battling Vince Freezy at one of the rounds, who was on a 450 when Robbie was on a 250. Unfortunately, he got hurt before Supercross, only got to run a couple rounds. But Robbie is back for 2026. And speaking of Arena Cross, they will be holding an exhibition race of sorts, if I have it correct, at the legendary Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. There will be an AMA Arena Cross sanctioned event. I don't know any of the riders who will be participating. I don't think there are any announcements so far. But if you get the Moto Concepts guys, if you get like Michael Hicks, Austin Politelli, Brandon Ray, Chandler Baker, some of these guys who race Arena Cross regularly, maybe Chase Marquier since he's a Midwest guy, and I know he races Arena Cross. Either way, it should be a fun show, and it could really be a good way to get some more eyes on Arena Cross. I feel like the Arena Cross stock has been going up the last couple years, especially when you look at the 2024 season when Kyle Peters and Ryan Brees, those guys were battling tooth and nail for the wins and for the championship every weekend. So hopefully the show in Sturgis goes very well and we get more eyes on Arena Cross. But our big headline of the week, it broke pretty much just after the last episode of the Stire Sound. Antonio Cairoli back in America. He was the Grand Marshal this weekend at Southwick, but the bigger news, he is riding a basically stock, a production model, not the full factory edition of the Ducati Desmo 450. The first time Ducati will be in action right here in America in motocross will be this weekend at RedBud. He's also going to be racing at Millville. I know he competed at the MXGP of Great Britain with the Aruba.it Ducati Corsa factory team, but he's over here, more of a stock production bike, trying to figure out things and test before Ducati goes racing next year. It's not every day you get to see a 9-time world champion, a bona fide living legend of the sport, come over here and mix it up. I'm excited to see what Cairoli does on the Ducati. Jack, what are your thoughts on Ducati's program starting to ramp up over here in the United States? And I'm sure you probably have to be pretty excited with the news of a rider at the level of championships and success, and also a beloved rider like Antonio Cairoli coming over here to America to try out some things for Ducati.
Yeah, it'll definitely be cool. I think the Ducati team has some good things going for it. I saw him there at the race talking with the Factory Connection guys. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see how it goes at RedBud. I'm sure it won't be anything that jumps off the page, but it's always cool to see a guy like Antonio at the races and racing with the American guys. It should be fun. I'm excited to see how he does, and we'll talk about it more next week and see how it goes.
Probably going to be kind of test sessions for the team. Like I mentioned, a production bike more so than the factory tricked out version they're running in the MXGP series. But there's obviously been a lot of talk and a lot of chatter about who could possibly end up at Ducati. A lot of people think Justin Barcia ends up there with his ties to the TLD team. There could be other names in the race. I'm not sure, but it will be interesting to see, and something cool for the sport of Supercross and Motocross here in America, because we had 7 manufacturers just a couple years ago, and we're going to have 3 join in the span of 2 or 3 years. Of course, Beta and Triumph coming in last year, and now Ducati. And you look at all of the success that Ducati has had in the MotoGP side of things, the road and street racing side of things. They're an absolutely legendary brand, a juggernaut pretty much, and Triumph, a legendary brand that has been selling motorcycles for years and years. Of course, Beta comes from more of the off-road dirt bike racing side of things, but gaining 3 manufacturers in 3 years over here is a really exciting prospect. I know when I started watching the sport, it had been a long time since a new manufacturer really broke in, and even though Husqvarna wasn't technically a new manufacturer because of their ties to the KTM group and their past in Supercross, I remember that being a huge deal and being like, Husqvarna's back. What teams are going to switch there? What guys are going to go there? And seeing more factory teams, it's more jobs, it's more talented people getting with a really good organization. Hopefully things go well for Ducati, and it's awesome to see all of these companies really clamoring to be in the sport of motocross and supercross and saying, hey, I think we can do this and we can compete at a really high level.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, like more jobs. I think that's the big thing, right? Is being able to produce more jobs and more rides for guys. I think that's always a benefit. I think it gets more guys involved and gives guys an opportunity to compete, under a spotlight, I guess in a sense. But yeah, I think the Ducati team next year, I'm sure we'll see Justin Barcia on Ducati next year. I think that's pretty likely. I'm interested to see if they'll do like a 250 program. Like obviously Triumph did started kind of bottom up, and they're going 450, and maybe they'll go 250, similar with like Beta. So we'll see. I think it'll be good. But yeah, it's definitely cool to see the manufacturers stepping up and creating dirt bikes and stuff that's maybe unfamiliar to them, and stepping into a realm that maybe they're unfamiliar with and growing. It's good. It's good for the sport.
Not to mention all the riders getting potential chances, but also you think about more mechanics, more technicians. Overall, getting a company like Ducati that has such a prestigious heritage in racing is a huge deal. That wraps up the news for this weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, we might have an interview coming up on this episode. I know that it's something I've looked forward to personally, but having an interview, myself and Jack, we have been to several races this year, but our perspective, it just doesn't compare to somebody who's out there on the track competing every weekend. So we want to start bringing you guys interviews, giving you insight to those who are competing at the highest level, no matter what stage or what team level they are on. We want to give you that insight and to really get a perspective and pick their brains a little bit on what it's like to compete at the highest level of motocross. Before we segue, I do want to say, for anybody who wants to reach out and support our podcast, if you're a listener and you want to say, hey, you guys are doing this good, I like this, keep it up. If you want to say, hey, I think you could improve in this area. If you want to give us suggestions on potential future topics, potential segments, we are open to anything. Myself and Jack, we're new at this. We're just learning. Let us know what you would like to see from our podcast, and if you want to help us out, I set up an email the other day, thestiresound@gmail.com. Forward any emails to us. Just let us know, like I said, if you have positive feedback for us, if you have things that you think we could improve, potential guests we could get on the show, we want to hear your voice. I know myself, and I'm sure Jack does as well, I value the opinion of the listener. I think that is the most important thing. While we are the hosts of the show and kind of running things, it is the listener whose opinion should be valued the most, because you are consuming our podcast. You are the ones who are out there who have the ability to promote our show, to share things around. If you know somebody who knows dirt bike racing, who loves the sport of motocross, tell them about our show. If you know somebody who wants to get involved with the show, let them know. The Stire Sound at gmail.com. Send us questions. Send us anything. We would love to hear from you, the listener. And also, contact us on Instagram if you would rather do that instead. We are at the Stire Sound Official on Instagram if you want to give us a follow there. Clips of the show to share to your friends and say, hey, I found this new podcast. I think you should check it out. We're posting reels every week. Go check it out. Keep running up the support for us. Thank you for the support. Once again, thank you all so much for listening to episode 2 of the Stire Sound. Without further ado, here is our interview segment. We are back with the Stire Sound episode 2. We have something special for you guys this week. Episode 2, we have our first interview segment, speaking with one of the 250 MX class racers. This man on the line with us is competing in his rookie 250 Pro Motocross season. He competed in his rookie 250 East Supercross season earlier this year. He's been improving steadily the last couple weeks after getting used to a new motorcycle. He is from the Wildcat Race Team GasGas organization, number 188 from Danville, Virginia. This weekend at Southwick, just outside of the points, he is getting closer to that top 20 range, 26th overall with 26-24 scores, and he is here on the line to talk about the Southwick National and talk about his rookie season so far. Please welcome Hamden Hudson to the Stire Sound. Hamden, welcome to the show, man. Thank you for joining us, and take us through your weekend at Southwick a little bit. How were things in your first pro trip to the Wick?
Well, first off, thank you all for having me. My weekend, it was pretty good. Starting off, I think, with flips, 250 schedule, 250 going last. Track was pretty broken in, so got out there, and I didn't have the best qualifying. I qualified 40th overall, so I don't know how to get an LCQ. It was kind of like my first time being in a decent position for my LCQ. I ran third pretty much the whole moto, like 2 laps to go. I tipped over. I had a big gap between like second and fourth, so I was just kind of chilling in third, and I tipped over, got up. I think I was in like fifth, I believe. Made 2 passes, lap and a half to go, and then I finished back in my original starting spot, which was third. And then going into the
Wait, before you get too far, because I was watching this one pretty heavy because our guy was in the LCQ with you. So you made the pass for fourth on our guy Jace, and then Patrick Murphy was in front of you. I don't know if you and P Murphy are boys or anything like that, but probably not after what you did. Just walk us through like your whole like mindset on that, and like, because you cleaned his clock. I mean, you just absolutely just. It looked like you were passing for, like you thought you were passing for fourth, like maybe you thought you were in fifth and passing for fourth, but just walk us through like what was going through your head on that one, because I'm curious.
Yeah. So when I went down, I thought I got up and I thought I was in sixth. Well, I passed Jace. I thought P Murph was fourth. Absolutely, like, just like shaved off P Murph's front end. It was not my intent at all. I was trying to set up a pass, like go from inside to outside, like on him the next corner. Like I was like not planning on hitting him or touching him or even passing him that corner. But where his rut hooked over, it stole his speed and sent him like left, like near my line. And then I saw an opening and I kind of took it. I had no intention on having any contact with him at all. And then I saw the video today, and the video makes it look so bad. Like, how could I even have no intention on doing that? But truthfully, I didn't. I actually got his number today, and I called him. I was like, kind of explained what I just said to him, and Yeah, we're cool. Me and P Murph are cool. So yeah, moving forward from that, I don't race like that. I'm not that type of dude. Like to intentionally, like for no reason, just clean someone out. I won't do that unless I had to. But yeah, I thought I was in fifth. I thought P Murph was fourth. So I was still trying to get a pass made, but no, that takeout was not my intentions right there. So
No, I get it, man. Like, I mean, if you think, if I think if he's in that position and he thinks you're in fourth, I don't think anything changes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's obviously it sucks that it was a predicament that's a bit different and it wasn't necessarily for a transfer spot. But at the end of the day, if that's what you thought, that's what you thought. And now I just wanted to hear what you had to say about it. I know that definitely isn't the way you race. I know you're like a super good kid, like on and off the track. So no, I just wanted to hear what you had to say about it because I saw the video today too, and I was like, holy cow, he just sawed him off.
all good. And he's like, if I knew that we were in that position, fifth and fourth, then I wouldn't have done anything different. So I wouldn't say totally cool with it, but he understood, and there's some respect there between us now. So
that's good.
Jack, you were there at the track. On a scale of 1 to chase Yinser into the high point wall, how greasy did the move look just from a spectator's point of view and not knowing exactly that the lines came together?
So I didn't see the takeout like from where I was, but
Oh, okay. So you just
obviously
saw the
like
social clip.
yeah, but I knew right away it happened because obviously like we were in this like for team wise, like we were in the same battle, I guess you could say. Like Jace was kind of falling off a little bit and was in fifth, and we were like, well, that looks like he's didn't make it or whatever. But then Hamden took out PJ, and yeah, it was okay. Well, that just happened, and I was like, all right, well, our guy's in and Hamden's in, so good for us.
Hamden Hudson, proud supporter of the Dirt Bike Depot KTM team.
oh yeah, I know. Jake's my boy too.
So tell us about your motos, because 24, 26 at a Southwick track is, and even to get in the top 30 right now is it's a feat in itself, just because of how many good guys are out there. Just to tell us about that.
My first moto like start, I didn't have like that bad of a jump, but I was like too far inside to where I kind of like ran out of track. Like I had to turn left to actually go around the corner, which was a right-hander. So that didn't really work out, and some dudes fell in front of me. So I'm pretty much, both motos has pretty much happened. Like I chose to go inside both motos, and at the end of the weekend, my dad's like, you're an idiot. Like, why would you do that? And I was like, nobody really told me. I can't see where the start's coming from, so that's my bad. But yeah, both starts over the weekend, I pretty much dead last. And every moto I was going from last and chugging along and making spots up. My first 2 or 3 laps of the motos this whole season, really the Supercross season as well, have been slow. Like I don't get my intensity up quick enough, and that's something I've been working on. So I hope to fix that. But about third lap to last lap, I'm pretty solid. Like I'm pretty comfortable with where like my fitness is and everything. Like I pick off a good amount of guys after halfway. I mean, motos weren't bad. My best finish was a 24th this whole season, so I'm okay with that. The 26th thing, I finished 26th overall, and the funny thing about it is last week at High Point, I qualified 26th. First moto, I finished 26th. Second moto, I finished 26th. First moto this weekend, I finished 26th. And then 24th, second moto, and then 26th overall. So I got a 26 streak going on right now. I need to break that.
That's pretty funny.
My next question for you, this was your first time at Southwick as a professional. I'm not sure if you raced at the venue as an amateur or not, but racing for 30 minutes, 2 motos throughout the day, how was the physical aspect of things compared to some of the other tracks on our circuit with the more standard style of soil levels? What were the physical demands at Southwick, and did you feel more tired?
I'd say muscle-wise, I was probably more fatigued, not so much like stamina. It's not like there's ruts, so it definitely tires you out different with the bumps and braking bumps, and like more so just not bumps, more so rollers, because of the way the track breaks down. Braking bumps coming into those like sharp, like 180 corners, they got pretty steep and gnarly. But really, other than that, I don't think it was the worst thing ever. I think Thunder Valley is pretty gnarly with the ruts and how sticky the track is and altitude and everything. So yeah, Southwick definitely lives up to the name of gnarliness, but it wasn't terrible. That being said, I was probably more tired this weekend than I have been the last few weekends, but I don't think it's the worst track out there on the circuit. So I don't know. I like sand. I've been riding sand for the past 3 years living in Florida. So I've kind of learned how to ride it pretty good. Obviously I'm not the best out there, but I don't know. I can gel with some sand every now and then.
Yeah. So obviously you made the switch to GasGas kind of abruptly, like you started right away in Paul after Supercross. Would you say the bike change has been a difference, kind of comparing the obviously going from aluminum to a steel frame? Do you feel like you've gelled with that well, and how's that change been for you?
I went along with it pretty well. I'm not a very picky rider. I can get on pretty much anything and feel pretty comfortable. I'm not very tech savvy, I guess one would say, towards my suspension and stuff. If you were to change my fork height and go 20 clicks out on my shock and get me to go ride it, I might be this feels a little weird, but I'm not going to be oh my gosh. Most of these dudes, if you go one clicker, they can feel all this difference. So that's been something I've been working on. And something I've had to figure out with the GasGas is my suspension, because I didn't have an idea of where to start for what could be better, I guess. So I've been kind of tweaking my suspension as we go, and that's gotten a lot better. That's allowing me to be a lot more comfortable compared to the first round on it. I just don't think I was comfortable the first couple rounds on that bike because I just didn't have it set up for me. I didn't really test much. I didn't know what to test. Other than that, the engine on the bike is done by Twisted. Engine's very fast. It's a very good engine. Power on the bike is, I'd say, more mellow on the bottom end compared to what I was previously riding, which was Yamaha. It's a lot smoother, which I like that. I really couldn't tell you much about the frame. I don't really feel the frame because, like I said, I'm not a very feely rider. So other than the suspension and trying to get that worked out, I got some stuff that I'm trying to fix this week coming up for RedBud. So hopefully I can get that figured out. And yeah, just get it better, just get it more set up to me.
Speaking of the GasGas and your new scenery, you are a part of the Newell EBR Performance All Balls Racing Yamaha crew for the 250E Supercross season. Made a couple main events. You qualified for your first at Birmingham, which was a Triple Crown. And for anybody to qualify in their first main event at a Triple Crown is a pretty impressive feat. Then going into the summer, as Jack mentioned a little bit, you signed with Lorenzo Curcio's team, Wildcat Race Team GasGas. Explain a little bit how the deal came about, how you got in contact with Lorenzo, and why you decided to go toward the GasGas for the summer.
I just needed a little bit of help to do this whole motocross season not so much on our own, not having to pay for everything, which there's a price for everything. But Lorenzo has kind of been a friend of mine for the past year, I'd say, since I got to Moto Sandbox. So I've known him mutually as friends, and I think my dad might have heard that there was a opening for a 250 rider for his Wildcat GasGas team. And I don't know, I just kind of asked and see what it would take for me to get on there, and I tested out a bike and I liked it, and it just kind of went from there. I rode a Yamaha pretty much my whole life. Other than about a year on an 85, I've always rode Yamaha. My hometown dealer has been Triangle Cycles, and Rusty and everyone with Triangle Cycles has helped me my whole career. He's lived about 5 minutes from me, so I saw him pretty often, and we're still great friends. He helps me with whatever I need. So it was kind of a big switch to go to a GasGas because I've never really been on anything else. But yeah, I really like the Wildcat Race Team bike and just kind of steady building from there.
Sweet. How would you say the jump from amateur to pro racing has kind of had an effect on you, or how would you say the differences? Obviously you're racing every weekend compared to every couple weekends or however it goes. Would you say you've adapted well, and how have you been dealing with that change of the level of riders, etc.?
I think a lot of kids' problems nowadays is that they don't race enough, which was one of my big problems. So before I went into the Supercross season, I actually raced the Redline Oils Arena Cross Series. I did a few rounds of that, and I think that kind of got me warmed up to go into Supercross. With it being Arena Cross, it's not so much like Supercross, but you still get the racing aspect of it, and it definitely helps me because I just needed some gate drops, just being more comfortable racing, which I don't think a lot of kids nowadays do that. They just don't race enough, so they're not comfortable when they get out there. I love the aspect of professional racing. I think it's a lot more chilled than amateur racing. Like, you wait your whole year to go to Loretta's, and Loretta's is so built up, and I don't know, everything you hear is Loretta's, make or break, whatever, which is a very fine established event, you know, but I don't think it's hyped up to be. I don't know. I really think that professional motocross and supercross has helped me elevate just my comfortability, and being used to racing and just getting out there with those dudes, like the dudes that you looked up to your whole life, you know. It was a surreal feeling qualifying for my first night show in Detroit, and then definitely much more emotion in Alabama when I qualified for my first main, which was Triple Crown, and then even making my first top 40 in outdoors at Thunder Valley was a very cool feeling. So keep trying to chase that feeling, you know, and each weekend it kind of gets more and more like I'm getting 26th and 24th now, but that doesn't seem good enough. So when I finally break top 20, I'm going to have that feeling again, and then I want to do 15 and then 10 and then so on and so forth. So I don't know, you're always chasing it. I don't think it's something you ever settle with, even if you're a winner. I mean, you can see it with most of these dudes that are winning. They never settle. So I don't know. I think that's what makes the motocross industry such a drug.
You talked a little bit about the jump from amateurs to professionals. Last year at RedBud, you had the weird scenario where one moto of the MX Combine competed like normal, but then weather rolled into the area or something, and they canceled the second moto. Then they told some of the guys, hey, you can come back and race tomorrow with the pros. You took advantage of that and ended up getting your first laps in a pro national. Now you are going back to that facility for the first time. You've had the whole year under your belt, like you mentioned, building from making night shows in Supercross to making main events. You went from top 40s, getting into the show, to now you're climbing up the ranks and getting close to the points. Coming back to RedBud after getting your feet wet a year ago, what are your goals for this weekend?
I really enjoyed RedBud last year. I didn't have a good weekend at all. My first moto of the combine, I went down first lap and I couldn't get my bike to crank. It finally cranked, and I was like probably dead last. And then they canceled the last moto, so Dad was like, you know, we're here. You might as well race tomorrow, which I already had my pro card because I got points the previous year at Loretta's, I believe. So I signed up and I raced, and actually I didn't race. I qualified, I believe, 24th. I qualified pretty good. And then first moto, I believe my bike shut off. And then the second moto, I landed on TV in the third corner and ripped my radiator off. So I really didn't get to finish a moto, which, yeah, that in general, that was my first top 40 experience. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to RedBud. I like RedBud a lot. I like the dirt, and I like the way the track kind of breaks down. I think it can be slower in some sections, and then the other half of the track can be faster. I think it's a technical track. I want to compare it a lot to Southwick, honestly, just besides of the ruts, but RedBud's pretty gnarly, so I'm looking forward to it. And I don't know, I did pretty good last year, the few laps that I actually did, so yeah, I think it should be a pretty good weekend.
Jack, do you have anything else for Hamden Hudson on episode 2 of the Stire Sound?
No, sir. I'll see you this weekend, Hamden. It was great talking to you. Talked to you a little bit before Moto 2 is kind of funny, but yeah, man. Good luck this weekend, and I'll see you at RedBud, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it, and I'll see y'all there.
Thank you once again, and that has been Hamden Hudson on the Stire Sound from Wildcat Race Team GasGas. He will be at round 6 of the AMA Pro Motocross Series this weekend at RedBud. If you are going to any of the races this summer, stop by the Wildcat truck. I'm sure Hamden will chat with you. as he continues to learn and grow in his rookie season of professional racing. Thanks, Hamden.
That concludes our first ever interview segment here on the Stire Sound. Thank you for listening, and thank you once again to Hamden Hudson for joining us. And now, time for our RedBud predictions.
It's time now to jump into our predictions for RedBud this weekend, round 6 of the AMA Pro Motocross Championship, starting with the 250 class. Jack nailed his predictions pretty much for last weekend. I'm going to go with my predictions first. If you say anyone but Hayden Deegan first, I think you're kind of crazy. So, of course, Hayden Deegan first place. I'm going to go Joe Shimoda for second place. Joe has won in the past at RedBud. He feels good at that track. He looked very fast, very confident at Southwick. I think Joe's going to be up there. And like Jack mentioned for Southwick, third is up in the air. There's so many talented guys who could be up there. I feel like you can't mention RedBud without mentioning Ty Masterpool, a guy who has won an overall in the past, won High Point last year. He won a moto at RedBud a year ago. It's been weird for Masterpool so far. Before Southwick, when I was doing my power rankings article, I found out that his average finish in the first moto before Southwick was 5.6, and his second moto average finish this year was 16.0, which is far from ideal. He got a little better at Southwick, 12th in the second moto. I've heard that he might be battling an illness of sorts. Not sure what's going on there, but you can't talk about RedBud without mentioning Masterpool because of his success at the track in the past. I mean, you look at 2-3 years ago when he showed up in that stock blank motorcycle, showed up, pulled a whole shot, led laps, fought with the Lawrence brothers right up there in the front of the pack. I feel like Tom Vial, Levi Kitchen, of course, are the normal suspects for third place. One guy I feel who could be in the fight for third place this weekend, he's going to be riding with a lot of motivation, is going to be Garrett Marchbanks. We mentioned him earlier talking about Aidan Zingg. He got close with Aidan. And I feel like sometimes you see athletes perform in memory of somebody who is special to them. I think of, even though it was a long time ago, but hearing the stories about Brett Favre on the Monday Night Football game after his father passed away and his inspirational performance. I think of Dale Jr. at Daytona months after his father passed away and just driving through the field and dominating that race and putting all of the pain behind it. I feel like with Marchbanks and his success this season, he's due for that breakout ride, but sometimes it feels like when you have something more to ride for, you have that extra purpose, that extra motivation, it can send you to greater heights. And I feel like Garrett Marchbanks could be in the fight this weekend. I'm sure he will be paying tribute to Aidan Zingg and racing in his memory. And man, there are so many people with a bunch of talent in the 250 class that could finish up on that podium. Who do you think it's going to be, Jack? I'm sure the Hayden Deegan guy, he's really fast. I'm sure he's in your prediction somewhere.
Oh yeah, I mean it's hard to bet against him right now, isn't it? I mean, the guy is just levels above everybody right now. It's nobody really has anything for him. He's kind of like Ricky Bobby right now, you know.
Shake and bake.
And oh yeah, and yeah, it's just kind of it's hard. You can't really bet against him. I mean, he's got the red plate for a reason, and he hasn't really lost for a reason, you know. So
4 straight
yeah,
championships too.
yeah, he's on a good one right now. So yeah, I mean, I think him obviously to win, and then I think Tom will be good there. I think Levi will be good there. Like you said too, Masterpool last year had a good race there. I think he, at least in one of the motos, will be, I think, up there. I really do. And then yeah, I mean, I think like we've been saying it, the third place, you just don't know who will be there. And I think Shimoda definitely. I think if Shimoda can get a good start, he'll be battling. And yeah, I mean, I want to see somebody kind of challenge Deegan or kind of have somebody be able to go straight up with him and push him maybe to the finish line the whole way and it not be a landslide of a gap. But I really am unsure who could do it. I think there's a multitude of guys that have the ability to on like their good days, but it's just can anybody else put it together like Hayden is right now? So it definitely is tough. I think my I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3 here. I'm gonna go Deegan. I'm gonna go Shimoda. I'm gonna go Tom in third. So that's my 1, 2, 3. Solidify that. If that happens this weekend, call me a genius. I don't know what you want to call me, but 2 weekends in a row, that's pretty good. But then I'll move it on to 450. I mean, you can't really bet against Jet. Same kind of thing with Deegan. He's just been utter dominance in the 450 class. Chase Sexton will be returning this weekend, so that should be another interesting thing to fly into the 450 class. I think it'll be good. I think Chase is motivated. I think he's ready to get back behind the gate.
His
And
home
I
track
think
as
that,
well, right?
exactly, yeah. So I think he's comfortable there. He won 1-1 there last year, and I think he's definitely ready to compete and show, kind of remind everybody who he is. I think that's what his mindset is going into this weekend, and I think that Chase will be competing up there, and then Tomac, and I think even Hunter Lawrence, like you said, Hunter was competing with Chase all last year, just was able to lead a lot of laps and win a couple motos and kind of prove he has the ability to compete at the high level. But yeah, man, it's going to be tough to beat Jet. I think he's the best guy in the world on a motorcycle right now, and maybe even ever. Like, I think he gets kind of undercut how good he really is, and to come off an ACL and be that good, it's scary. It's really really scary for the future of the sport, because it could be a lot of the Jet Lawrence.
That's one of the things I was concerned about when Jet came back. It's like, how good is he going to be off the ACL? And then I remembered that Ricky Carmichael went 24-0 coming back from an injury. And I look at what Stu did. He did the same thing, 24-0 after his ACL issues in 07 and 08. But man, it's insane to watch Jet Lawrence, because I remember I use this example all the time with some of my buddies. Watching MXGP years ago when Hunter Lawrence was still in Europe and racing for Suzuki and racing for 114 Honda. But I remember Paul Malin talking about, there's this kid named Jet Lawrence. It's Hunter's younger brother. And he always was mentioning, like, he's going to be faster than Hunter and he has the potential to really be good. And I think a lot of people thought Jet would be good, but the level he is on and the pace is levels above, I think, anybody's expectations. I will go ahead and lock in my 250 podium as well. I said Deegan, Shimoda. I will go Garrett Marchbanks P3 there. 450 class, yeah, Jet Lawrence got to be number one. I mean, he's won every overall this season, and even in the motos he's lost, he's shown so much composure and maturity that I feel like even a couple years ago, like if he would have been in that situation, he may have pushed a little more. But now that he has a little more expertise, you look at the second moto at High Point when it was muddy out there, Tomac and Hunter were gone. They left everybody behind. And Jet worked through the pack a little bit. He got around AP. I believe Justin Cooper was in that group as well. I know he picked his way past a few riders, but he just settled in and looked poised. But when he gets out front, he makes things look so effortless, and I'm not sure that I've ever seen that from a motocross rider, apart from maybe Ken Roxon, like 2016, when he was mowing through people outdoors. Those are the only two guys I feel like that I've seen in my time watching the sport, where it just looks like every little thing they do is effortless and makes it look like everybody could go out there on a dirt bike and be fast. Second and third, I'm going to go Tomac P2 just in front of Sexton, because it is Chase's first race back in a while. I think Chase could probably get second place in a moto. Maybe first moto he gets second place or so, but Eli Tomac and Hunter Lawrence are also very fast right now. I feel bad leaving Hunter off of the podium because he's looked really good at the last two races. But I think Jet Lawrence, Tomac, and Sexton, you talk about an incredibly talented top three. The amount of wins and championships between that group is insane. So, RedBud coming up this weekend. We'll see what happens. But those are our predictions. Ladies and gentlemen, This has been the second episode of the Stire Sound. Thank you once again for listening. Make sure you tell everybody about our show. We've seen a few really good ratings on Spotify, a couple 5-star ratings. So thank you for the support already. We appreciate all of your feedback, all of your support. Thank you for all of that. We will be back with episode 3, wrapping up RedBud, talking about Millville. Of course, we got this stretch of 4 races that started with Southwick last weekend. Millville coming up, a track that I know a lot of fans and a lot of riders love. Thank you all for listening. This has been episode 2 of the Stire Sound. For Jack Noel, I'm Trey Stire, and the Stire Sound is fading out.
Thank you for listening to the Stire Sound. And now, 20 seconds of Zen.